Alrighty, so I just woke up. I wanted to go play some Arma 3, and they dropped the Israeli Air Force tech tree devblog, and as well as another one about improving the flight characteristics of SACLOS and MACLOS missiles. I'm not too big maths. I haven't even gone over this, so I might not even go over we'll see. I'll read it eventually, but first of all, I just want to cover the main updates focus here, which they believe they are calling it, where did it say, winged lions? Yeah, there we go. Which we have named winged lions. And obviously they go into the history a little bit of the Israeli Air Force, which was literally formed pretty much the second that the country was formed. Obviously a Jewish nation, Israel being a primarily Jewish state, and then being surrounded by multiple Arab countries. And if you paid attention for 5 minutes in history class at all during your younger years, you'll know that the Christians, the Jews, and the Arabs, or sorry, excuse me, the Muslims, did not get along. Three different branches of the same religion, essentially, and they did not get along, obviously, because of their differences in beliefs. And so when Israel was formed, at the end of World War II, basically, or a little after World War II, they pissed off all of their Muslim neighbors. I want to say Arab neighbors that are primarily Muslim, obviously. That's just, I'm going to be interchangeable, although that's not really exactly correct in a way. But to me, it's kind of interchangeable when looking at Israel's formation as a country. So obviously, they pissed off everyone around them, and they pretty much immediately went to war and have kind of been in conflict ever since their creation. I'm not going into the modern politics of Israel. I'm only going to be just kind of touching, what we have here, obviously. But yeah, you already all know we already have the A4 Premium and the Spitfire, which obviously they have the packs down here. I played a little bit of the Spitfire. It's basically a free spaded Mark 9. I have not really touched the A4. I actually never bought it. I did get it for a test drive from Gaijin during the open patch, but I have touched War Thunder very little recently. But obviously, since a lot of you did sub for War Thunder content, I think I like to talk about the devblogs a little bit. And also, I haven't made many videos recently, so this one's going to be maybe a bit longer. But nonetheless, yeah, they kind of go into their aviation history. I know that they had, Israeli Messerschmitts and stuff like that. They even say that here. And then obviously a lot of people know about the Israeli Mirages during the 6-Day War. Neshers and Kafirs, if I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. That's how I've always said it because of war game. But obviously Israel has had a lot of support from the United States, a little bit from France, and a little bit from Britain over the years. So you're going to see a lot of the same aircraft, but then you're also going to see a couple of different ones that they might be leaving out of the other trees to kind of keep Israel somewhat more original, although ironically it's not really that. But basically, so for this, go away, Razor Synapse. Basically for this, what you have to deal with is, if you want to play the Israeli Air Tree next update, you have to buy either one of these packs. If you just want to get into it and just kind of get going, you can do the Spitfire pack, or if you really just want to get a real good head start and use a pretty decent ground attack aircraft, get the A4e. The difference between this one and the A4e early, the American tree, is that this one can carry 2 walleyes and 2 sidewinders and then a couple of bombs in the middle, versus the A4e for America, which can only carry the walleyes. It can't carry burping line. It can't carry the AIM-9s with the walleyes at the same time. Those are basically extra pylons on the Israeli one. So that's kind of the difference you're getting there. So right here they say the Israeli military equipment is part of a separate research tree against the aviation. Since the Israeli Air Force was formed after the end of World War II, the study of Israeli aircraft begins not with reserves, but immediately from rank 4. So, my opinion on this is, in a way, for a while when they were telling us that Israel wasn't a sizable nation, I always thought we'll just make a couple of notable Israeli vehicles accessible. After you research the American tree, say like how they did with helicopters for all the nations with helicopters, and I thought maybe they could do something similar with other nations, maybe like North Korea for China and stuff like that. But yeah, so now that they have their own independent tech tree, it'll be a little bit different. So you're not going to be starting from reserve. So I already see a lot of newer players. I'm just going to say noobs. I'm just going to use the terminology because I'm lazy. A lot of noobs buying into the Israeli tree and absolutely sucking. But then again, I mean, like with the way premiums have gone in the past, 2 years of War Thunder, it's not it's not like it's not happened before. Like with all of the like the SU-7 premium and the Q-5 premium and all these basically top tier jets, and in some cases tanks and helicopters, that you have a lot of newer players. And you know what? At this point, we were all trying to tell Gaijin that was just gonna make the game less fun, and they were gonna get more shit for it. But obviously they're still making money, so who cares on their end? That that's how they feel. So it's not going to be any different for Israel, unfortunately. But at the same time, they could, if I read maybe a little bit longer into this, no, I don't see any sort of indicator that you'll be locked off of this tree other from the paywall of the beta test. But obviously the patch after this one, they will most likely just make it open beta, and that could even be their Israeli ground force tree. Who knows? But I am a big fan of Israel. I really like what they did. I like the story of how this country, with the support of nations far away, was able to essentially build their own military and start to develop their own tech and solve their own problems. Which is I remember watching a video on the history of the Neshers and stuff like that. From the dogfights episode. So, it's been an interesting history for Israel, but in terms of game functionality, a lot of this is going to be very unoriginal. I don't want to say copy and paste, because Israel has done some things to some of their vehicles to make them different, but I mean, the Phantoms, maybe they might be the same. But, of course, anyways, without further delay, I'm going to take a look at the little preliminary tree here. And we're just going to kind of get an idea. So there is the, let's see, so the premium over here, the premium Spitfire Mark 9, the LF Mark 9, sorry, I should be probably pretty specific with that. But in the standard fighter tree, there is an LF Mark 9E CW. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's going to be exactly the same. I don't know what the CW means, but we have a Mark 9C, so you're going to have those two. You're going to have the S199, which is a 109G10, I believe, or G6. But either way, it's a 109. They have the good old American P-51 Mustang, D20NA. They have the B-17G. Understandable, it's a bomber. Whoops. And then over here, it pretty much seems like they're going to start at rank 4, then you're going to instantly jump into rank 5 as soon as you research, I would assume, these 5 aircraft. That they will most likely lock off, all of that, but they kind of start the rest of the tree. But over here we have the Meteor Nf 13, which has a really big nose, so I'm going to assume that that's a night fighter variant, considering NF, and then obviously I would assume that it's a massive radar in there. Everyone who wants to make the Israeli big nose joke, there you go. I already see the amount of jokes that's going to have in game chat, but it is what it is. Then they have a standard Meteor F8. They have the MD 450B. I'm not going to say the name because I would probably pronounce it wrong because it's French. The interesting A4H, which is weird that that's somehow lower listed in this little preliminary tree than this one, but I don't know if the tiering for those is going to be the same. But the A4H, the A4e, and the A4N, those are the 3 A4s they're going to have. And then the A4, sorry, that's the A4 late, that's the premium, I keep getting mixed up, whoops. The Valtor 2A and the Valtor 2N I'm going to assume that the 2A is going to function exactly like the French one, and then the 2N might be one with missiles on it, which would be really interesting. I'd like to have Valtor with possibly better missiles on it, but I doubt that's going to happen. And considering we still have supersonic air spawn attack planes at the same battle rating that this Valtor would most likely be placed at, I don't think this is going to be enjoyable unless they really, really sort out their dumb shit with battle ratings for Araby. But we have the Meteor 4A as well, and the Sambad. I don't know. I'm gonna say like an American, an ignorant American, but yeah, I'm assuming that this is going to be a Super Meteor. Same with the SAR, they both look like Super Meteors. Although this one, interestingly enough, looks like it has a massive engine in it, like a much better, maybe a better afterburner. Let me Google that real quick. Let's see. Yeah, just looks like it has. Yeah, just looks like it has a much better engine in it. So this might actually be a really, really good aircraft if the engine power is much better. And there's an original picture of it. Interesting. That might be good. That might be, you get the struggle bus of the original Super Meteor, and then you get something with a better engine. So, hey, why not? Let's see. So now we go on to we have the Mirage 3 CJ, the F4E, and the Nesher. So the Nesher, although it's in the strike aircraft tree, I always thought the Nesher was the fighter one, but I guess I'm wrong. So the Nesher would be our ground attack one, and the Mirage 3 CJ would be the fighter on par with that. But then you have the Kafir C7, which is basically an Israeli modification, let's say. I'm pretty sure both the Nesher and the Kafir are, but I think the Nesher is a little bit more original to the Mirage than even the Kafir is, because you can kind of tell even by the blueprint it's slightly designed differently. Looks sleeker, more for fighting than even the Nesher is. So, and then the only Phantom we have is the F4e Phantom 2, which I'm going to just assume that this is like straight up copy and paste of the US F4e. I don't think that there's anything different about them, and so you're basically going to have that F4 in the Israeli tree. Although I think the main appeal is going to be obviously the new Valtor, if it's at a good battle rating and has missiles and is pretty fun. The SAR, the new Super Meteor basically, and the Kafir. And then we'll have to see what the other A4s have. I don't really know if they're going to have that much of a different loadout. They might keep this A4E early to be basic bitch, which would be funny because then they gave the American one walleyes and stuff. It'd be funny if they didn't give this one it. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all we have for the Israeli air tree. It's going to be a good veteran appeal tree, I would say, because it has few aircraft, mostly high tier, and a couple of interesting ones that people want to grind through. But I don't really know honestly what else to think about it other than like I'm glad they're finally in the game, but I mean I can grind these if I want, although I don't play War Thunder that much anymore. But I think the only real reason I would play the Israeli air tree right now is just to get set up for their ground tree, because Israel has more interesting domestic designs and modifications to vehicles. Versus this air tree, which seems to be mostly just copy and paste, which is understandable for the Spitfires and the P-51 and the B-17. I don't know if they did any changes to the Israeli 109, but this entirety, like this is copy and paste. Obviously, the MD450B is just there to fill it in. Obviously, for the French influence, earlier in their history. You got the Meteors as well for Britain, although this one we haven't seen before, obviously. This Meteor is probably just gonna behave like a Sky Knight, But I wouldn't say it's entirely copy and paste. It's just they got to have some aircraft there because they were historically significant and they were used by Israel a lot until later on when they started to develop their own modifications and actually produce their own, Mirages and stuff. So yeah. Without dragging this on too much further, that is pretty much the Israeli tree in a nutshell. I'm going to go read this other Devblog right now, and if I don't make a video on it, it's probably because it's not that interesting, to be honest with you. And someone who has more knowledge about missiles would probably explain it better than I do anyways. And I'm probably just going to go hop on Arma now, so. Yep. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and I'm gonna go do more reading, because reading is good, kids. Oh, gee, that just. Oh, great. All right, well, take care, guys. See you next time.